A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 29th of September 2020. Day is Tuesday. I would like to start today's discussion with this line. World class begins where your comfort zone ends. We all love comfort zone, isn't it? Comfort zone is seductive. It's familiar, but remember, comfort zone is also a place where you will not, or it's a zone. You will feel comfortable, but you will not grow. So, if you want to learn new skills, if you want to become a better person than you are today, if you want to become a better leader than you are today, you have to step out of your comfort zone, right? You will feel a bit of fear, fear of unknown, like what will happen when you step out of this comfort zone. But if you want to see new things in your life, new adventures, then yes, you have to step out of comfort zone. There is no other way at all. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ team has designed a smart course. So this smart course is for Civil Services Examination. It covers your pre as well as mains examination, and to find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application. Till 30th September 2020, EMI offer is also available. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel. You can follow me on Facebook. On our table, we have 5 important articles. The first one is from Times of India. Then I have 2 articles from Indian Express, 2 articles from the Hindu, then some news items. So let's start our discussion on the first one, longevity gap. It's about life expectancy. It's quite shocking to know this fact that back in 1970-75, India's life expectancy was 49.7%. The latest figures are a bit healthy, but they are not that impressive if we compare ourselves with other countries. Like the latest figure says that India's life expectancy is 69.4 years. I'm sure you know what is the meaning of life expectancy. This is like, on an average, an Indian will live up to 70 years, right? So this is an average of all Indians in our country. Now, Japan achieved 70 in 1960s. China achieved this figure 70 or 69.4 or somewhere near it. China was in 1990s. And interestingly, Nepal and Bangladesh, these nations were behind us back in 1980s, but today they are ahead of us. Now, there is a strong link between poverty and life expectancy. I'll throw some light on poverty. Many a times you might have heard this thing that poverty is considered as mother of all ills. Let's understand why it is mother of all ills. A poor person, a poor family cannot afford a balanced diet. Hard work, right? Too much of hard work, I would say, right? For even small things like if you want to cook something, then ladies, they have to go out and they have to fetch wood, and it's a back-breaking work. Then for collecting fresh water, ladies, they have to go out and they have to collect, and you want to believe, but in our country, walking 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers for fetching water is not something that is unknown of. Right, it is something that we find in some poor areas. Then health facilities, of course, you know that this is not possible. So I think this few things are enough, and then you will be in a constant stress and worry, like what will happen, whether you will find something, So this takes a heavy blow, or it takes a heavy toll on your body. So naturally, you are not going to be that healthy like a person who is getting all the luxuries. I'm not saying too much luxury is good. What I'm saying is balance of everything is good. Too much luxury is also bad. Too much of poverty is also bad. But if you are somewhere in the middle, you are eating healthy food, sleeping correctly, then doing enough work, not too much hard work, not too less, doing a little bit of exercise, finding out some time for your loved ones and friends and everyone. So this sort of well-balanced life, if you have, then of course in all various different aspects you are going to flourish. But when you are always concerned about what you are going to eat next, if you are not well, then you have to borrow money from someone to take medicines for 50, 100 rupees, then this, you can imagine the stress that you are going through every single day. So there is a strong link between poverty and life expectancy. This is also visible in our states like Delhi, Kerala, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, with lower incidence of extreme poverty live longer than national average, and poorer states like Chhattisgarh, UP, MP, Assam, Rajasthan, Bihar, Jharkhand, if you go there and if you compare this states overall life expectancy with prosperous states, then you will find that people in these states, they live a bit shorter compared to those people of the states that I have just mentioned. India's current economic difficulties are turning the clock back in the fight against poverty. Many reports are saying that because of this lockdown, COVID-19 led lockdown, our economy is the first quarter was minus 23.9. And I was going through one report, and the second quarter is going to be somewhere between 8 to 15, right? It was something like that. 8, I'm talking minus 8 to minus 15 second quarter. So economists and experts, they are saying that so far whatever we have done in last couple of decades, everything will be washed away because of this lockdown and because of these difficulties through which we are going. So more people, those poor people, they will become more poorer, and many people, they were just above the poverty line, they will fall under poverty line. This will impact their health, food, diet, and so many other things that I have just explained. Access to public health services could be an equally important factor. We need to boost up our infrastructure. We need more doctors. We need more affordable medicines, right? And latest medicines, affordable medicines, innovative way of doing things when it comes to health side of things, right? COVID's effect on lives and health services has multiple dimensions with generational implications. So many people suffering from cancer, TB, they need some sort of operations, right? This sort of patients, they are not getting any sort of help, or they are not able to book a date because at present so many hospitals are struggling with this COVID numbers. And these days what happens is that if you want to do something, if you want to get operated, then first they will do your COVID checkup. If you are COVID free, then they will carry on. So it is affecting so many people, and so many people, they have lost their incomes, their livelihoods, and they are going to, as I told you, right, it's going to impact their meals, their education, their kids' education, their future planning, and so many things. Health insurance is a good thing. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Ayushman Bharat, PMJAY is definitely a good thing, no doubt about it. But just insurance is not going to help. If I have 1 crore insurance, health insurance, and when I am not well, if I don't find any hospital, if hospital are not able to treat me because they don't have these facilities and doctors, then insurance is going to be of no help to me. So healthcare infrastructure is must. And I think we will enter a zone after this COVID-19 is over. I'm sure we will enter a zone in which the whole country will demand more proactive services than curative services when it comes to healthcare. But all these things are only possible when we have money, when our economy is growing. Without money, you cannot achieve these things. As a country, you need money to expand your health infrastructure. With this, dear friends, please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now on your screen, you can see 2 Prime Ministers. The one is, of course, Prime Minister of India. Here you see the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. India-Sri Lanka Virtual Bilateral Summit took place on 26th September 2020. And Prime Minister Modi talked about 13th Amendment of the Constitution of Sri Lanka. So what is this 13th Amendment of Sri Lankan Constitution all about? It's about decentralization. It's about devolving political power to Tamil-dominated areas in north and east of Sri Lanka. So you can see here, this is north portion. As you can see, this orange color represents Sri Lankan population, Sri Lankan Tamil population. So here you find Sri Lankan Tamils, and then you have this big portion here and two tiny portions here. So you find Sri Lankan Tamils in east and north of Sri Lanka. Now, if you go in the history of Sri Lanka, remember this LTTE, Prabhakaran, and this civil war. It all started with this language issue that Sri Lanka said that Sinhalese is going to be the main language. Tamil people, they have to speak in Sinhalese and they have to study, and it all started, this triggered a civil war. So finally everything was sorted, and back in 1987 India-Sri Lanka Accord took place, and it remains the only constitutional measure that gives the Tamil minority a smidgen of or a tiny portion of autonomy within a unitary constitution. So since 1988, India has tried its level best, and India wants Sri Lanka to implement the 13th amendment of its constitution to devolve more power to the representatives who are living or representing this Tamil population or Sri Lankan Tamil people. Now, there is talk in Colombo of abolishing the amendment altogether. In Sri Lanka, discussions, or there is event going on. People are saying that get rid of this 13th amendment altogether. No need to devolve this power. On other side, India would like to see more powers in the hands of a representative of this Sri Lankan Tamil people. Prime Minister Modi called on the Sri Lankan government to address the aspirations of Tamil people for equality, justice, peace and respect within a united Sri Lanka. He also urged the government to sort out this process as quickly as possible. Rajapaksa non-committedly said that he expressed the confidence that Sri Lanka will work towards realizing the expectations of all ethnic groups. So the statement coming from Sri Lanka was more broad. It was not to the point. It was not he talked about all ethnic groups, including Tamils. And the question is that why then later on Sri Lankan leader went on to issue a separate statement in Colombo that made no mention whatsoever of Tamil issue. So it looks like it's like a lip service, like when you have a formal meeting at that point of time. Both nations, they talk about this 13th amendment, and once the meeting is over, everything is over, then that's it. You are on your own way and I am on my own. And Colombo knows this thing, that Sri Lanka knows this thing, that if Sri Lanka will build a little bit good relationship with Beijing, then that will rattle Delhi. Delhi will not be happy with this thing. And why? Means there is a legit reason behind this thing, because somewhere here you find a port called Hambantota. Now this Hambantota was developed by China. China said that, to see, just like India, Sri Lanka's location is a very important location in Indian Ocean, and thousands of ships will come here, and like a transit port, Hambantota can become a very important port, and you can supply things to various different parts of the world from here. And these were the things that were said by China to Sri Lanka. So the earlier Rajapaksa government said that, okay, let's go with it. And then they built this, Chinese people, they invested in this Hambantota, and then Sri Lanka was not able to pay back money for it, and no ships were stopping here. So it was a big loss for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was not able to service the loan or this contract. So finally, China took this Hambantota port on lease for 99 years. Right? So it's like Chinese way of colonization. Now, China is not only parking its merchant ships here, but many times you find its naval ships are loitering in this region. And this is not something that India will appreciate, isn't it? So that's the reason why it rattles India. And whenever we talk about infrastructure, since 2017, right, our infrastructure projects are not approved by Sri Lanka. Moving on to the next one. The assault on Bollywood. This article is written by Sanjaya Baru. I'm sure you know who Sanjaya Baru is. Now the thing is, dear friends, I'll share a couple of experiences. First, let's go through this one. Many Indians traveling overseas would have had my experience of 1980s with a taxi driver in Dakar, Senegal, who offered to drive me around for free if I would part with a music cassette of Amitabh Bachchan's latest movie. Raj Kapoor is famous in Moscow, Amir Khan is famous in China, and you won't believe, but Rajinikanth is famous in Japan. And then there are so many. Shah Rukh Khan is famous in UK, USA, so is Salman, and so is Amir. In Western world, I have a couple of experience as well. I met one guy from Russia. He was 60, 65. And I met him in a shop, and he told me, where are you from? I'm talking about when I used to live in England. So he told me, so I told him that I'm from India, and so he sang this song, Mera Juta Hai Japani, Ye Patloon Hindustani, a song of Raj Kapoor. And I was surprised. And I have this sort of experience. I remember one South Korean guy, I don't know his name now, means I don't remember his name anymore, but he used to be in one class, I'm talking 10, 12 years ago. And he was from South Korea, and he was singing one Hindi song. So when I say Bollywood here, I'm not just talking about Hindi cinema, I'm talking about Tamil cinema or Kannada cinema or maybe Bhojpuri cinema. I'm talking about the entire film industry of our country. Our films are famous in various different parts of the world. I believe most of you, listening to this English version are from South India, right? Now, I'll share a very interesting experience with you guys. There is a film of Shah Rukh Khan called Jab Tak Hai Jaan, and this Vijay's film, Thupakki. So in London, I went to a talkies, and I was standing in a long queue, and I was in a long queue. So basically, I thought like Shah Rukh Khan is very famous here. Like I can see a long queue in England, in one of London's cinema. And then one guy told me, Anna, which film? And I said, Jab Tak Hai Jaan. He said, this is Thupakki, Jab Tak Hai Jaan, direct entry. You don't have to wait here. So I was surprised that day that South Indian films are, and people from Sri Lanka and South India around the world, they take out time and they watch this movie. So it's great, isn't it? So why we are discussing this thing here? Because our films are not just our films. They also display our culture. They display our colors. They display our thinking and so many other things, right? They display the state of our society. So it is a soft power of our country. USA has recognized this soft power ages ago, and they have used this soft power for economical, technological, military influence. Can you believe this thing? That this thing has been used for technological as well, like presenting USA in such a way that people will believe, that people will think that USA is the best. And we find this thing in so many American movies. If cinema or music can make a country popular in another, that would be its soft power, has been said by Joseph Nye, who back in 1990, he's a political scientist from America, he phrased this two words, or this phrase, he gave this this phrase by joining these two words called soft power. So soft power is something that is like our asset, Bollywood, and overall, as I told you, right, when I say Bollywood, I'm not just talking about Bollywood, I'm talking about all Indian film industries, right? They are our asset, right, national asset. They have attracted so many tourists in our country. This film of Hrithik Roshan, Kaho Na Pyar Hai, the first film of Hrithik Roshan. It was, part of it was shot in New Zealand, and New Zealand received huge amount of tourists the next year, because people were not aware about that much aware about New Zealand as a tourist destination. But after this film, so many people from India and South Asia, they visited New Zealand. So this is the strength of a film. Can you imagine? So language, ethnicity, caste, class, even color of skin, all these things that we find in film is a reflection of our society. And sadly, we find people attacking, saying bad things about some actors, and they blame them for some things. I'm not trying to save here. I'm not marketing for any person here. Overall, what I would like to say is that Indian cinema is a national institution and a national asset. It is an aspect of Indian soft power. In destroying its credibility by hurting the standing and credibility of the individuals who make this institution stick, we harm the national interest. Media's job is to, nowadays the thing is, it's very unfortunate to say, but these days media is engaged it's more concerned about TRP. It's like you are more concerned about your dollars rather than your runs, or your performance. You are becoming more mechanical rather than more being artistic. Now we have all the resources, right? Good cameras, good telecommunication technology, and so many things. This is the time when media should provide quality news that can make a real change in our in the life of our country. But what they are showing these days, a few weeks ago, it was all about Sushant Singh Rajput. Now Sushant is gone. Now that means, when I say gone, I mean to say now they are not interested in Sushant Singh anymore. Now they are interested in this drug case that is going on, and new drug cases are coming out here and there. Now the thing is, why drugs is available, first of all, in our country? There are so many people who are using drugs, right? If you want to file case against all of them. Now when I say file case against all of them, then they will say that we don't have that many resources, right? It's okay if someone is if someone is doing drugs, and if they are breaking the law, then of course law should take its own course, no doubt about it. But why you are doing this media trials? This is not fair at all, right? And so these things, or whatever it is going on, right? Political parties targeting few film stars, or media targeting or making TRP out of it, and all these things are hurting or harming the national interest of our country. We need to understand this thing. Two speeches. Now this one is sort of funny, but the other side is very serious as well. But when I say funny side, like, we know this thing that every time if you give a mic to a Pakistani politician, particularly Prime Minister, then he will always say bad things about our country. Yesterday we were talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech, and he talked about UNSC reforms, and he talked about big things, right, that will affect the whole world. He talked about things that will make this world a bit more democratic. And here, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan, in his speech at the United Nations General Assembly, he focused less time on, he was less focused on Pakistan, and he was more like ranting about India. He was saying bad things about India. He said that India, this Modi government is sponsoring Islamophobia, is following an extremist ideology. He compared Indian ideology or RSS with Nazi concepts, and he said that racial purity and supremacy and things like that are going on. He said this Citizenship Amendment Act is something similar to Nuremberg laws. Very funny. And he said that this LOC tensions are nuclear flashpoint. So it's every year, it's all about barking and no biting. Pakistan is used to with this thing, or I would say Pakistan is best in this thing about saying bad things about India. But when it comes to looking within Pakistan, what's going on in Pakistan, Pakistani Prime Minister is saying that minorities in our country are mistreated. Now, he's not concerned about Parsis or Sikhs or Christians or Jews. He's trying to woo Indian Muslims. But Indian Muslims, they know it very well. They are here, they know this thing that they are safe, they are flourishing in India compared to the Muslims or citizens of Pakistan, isn't it? And if you see the constitution of Pakistan, Pakistan itself prevents minorities or person from minority from holding high office. Here we don't have anything like that, right? Our country is a secular democracy. We had a Muslim prime minister, a president. We had Muslim home minister, right? So, and there are so many other examples. Like, this is stupid if we talk about this, like India. We are secular democracy. We don't have anything like this. Yes, I do believe that people are fighting in name of caste, in name of religion. But hey, we are 18% global population living in one country. So we cannot say the whole India is anti-secular. If few people are fighting somewhere in a pocket of our country, then just imagine 18% population, right? Out of that 18% population, if 50, 60 people are fighting, then you cannot blame 1.3 billion people that we are against secularism. Not at all, right? So the beauty of India, we should never forget. We need to count our blessing. So he accused India about state terrorism, but we know that he's going to face this financial action task force in October. And Pakistan is under this grey list since June 2018. So anyway, enough about it. Now let's move on to a hero who is no more between us, but I'm sure his work, the things that he has done for our country, will remain in our hearts and minds forever. And hats off to this guy, this person, this great gentleman, Jaswant Singh. So this article is written by Rakesh Sood. The regular students, you know Rakesh Sood very well, isn't it? So he was entrusted, this Jaswant Singh, he was entrusted with the responsibility of opening dialogue with United States. So Bill Clinton was going to visit our country in early 1998. Then it was a bit delayed because of elections, or late 1998 he was going to come here. But then we did this nuclear test and USA was absolutely furious on India. It was not happy at all. And sanctions were applied on us. And then Jaswant Singh was visiting New York for a UN meeting in early June. So he sent a message to White House. He conveyed a message to White House that he's ready to have a talk, or India is ready to have a discussion with the USA. So finally he had his discussion with a person in USA, and that was the main step, or I would say the first step. Thus began the dialogue between India and US on engagement that is best described as the most intense, the most inconclusive, and yet the most productive. After 16 meetings between June 1998 and September 2000 in 7 cities, the tide turned towards a highly successful Clinton visit in March 2000 and Mr. Vajpayee's return visit in September 2000, when Mr. Clinton hosted his largest state dinner at the White House. Right? It was all started by Jaswant Singh. From estranged democracies, India and USA became natural partners for the 21st century. The US position was guided by, then USA gave us these 5 benchmarks. USA said that we need to sign comprehensive test ban treaty that had been concluded in 1996, joined the fissile material cutoff treaty negotiations being pushed in Geneva, accept a freeze on developing nuclear arsenal, tighten export controls on sensitive materials and technologies, and engage in dialogue to reduce tensions with Pakistan. We said, okay, but we came out with Jaswant Singh. He tabled 5 points. The first is India's security. He explained that on one side we have China, on the other side we have Pakistan. Both of them have this nuclear weapon. So nuclear weapon for us, it's not something that we want to use it as a war, but it's like a fence for us. It will protect us. It's like a protection for us. Elements of credible minimum deterrence as evidence of India's restrained adoption of no first use policy. We said that we will never use it. Right, we will never be the first one to use it. If we are attacked using nuclear weapons, only then we will use it. A voluntary declaration of a moratorium on further nuclear testing, and India's continuing commitment to responsible non-proliferation despite not being party to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, that is NPT. So everything was sorted finally, and so far we know that back in 2008, India-USA or USA-India civil nuclear deal was signed. It was all started by Jaswant's strategy, or Jaswant Singh's efforts. Then something similar happened with China. When back in 1998, July 1998, in Manila, that is capital of Philippines, India was there for this ASEAN meeting, and then Foreign Minister of China, Tang Jiazhuan, he started blaming India for India's. He said that India is, provocating China, and it is indulging in provocative actions and things like that. And the Chinese diplomat said that he who ties a knot must untie the knot. That's an old saying in China. That's what he said. And then Jaswant Singh, very wisely, he replied saying that in my village in Rajasthan, we too have a saying that it takes two hands to untie a knot. And then discussion that was scheduled for 20 minutes between these two leaders, it lasted for an hour. And before the end of the year, that is Rakesh Sood, the writer of this article, was in Beijing to lay the ground for new security dialogue between the two countries. So these are just two examples of Jaswant Singh's diplomatic proficiency or diplomatic capabilities. So God bless his soul, right? Thank you very much, sir, for all your hard work and everything that you have done for our beautiful country, India. And dear friends, these are some news items. Please download the PDF and go through this news items. These are just headlines. I want you guys to find these news items from the internet or newspapers, and then go through it. There are a few points that you will find here, and that's basically everything from my side. I will see you soon. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.